Hey, 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 hey. Make D&D maps every day. Oh, hey, 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 hey. You got to make a D&D map every day. Hey, 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 hey. I got to play a D&D every day. I bet with these settings you could probably hear the dang keyboard. Ah, ha, ha, ho. We're gonna get alive, hey, oh. Hey, hey, hey. Do your D&D maps in the middle of the day. Sure, why not? It's Monday. What else is there to do besides be a wretched? Gods of D&D, lift me from the darkness of the internet. Yeah, there I be, that's me. It's old Ingrid Bernal, your old buddy here from Runehammer. Greetings, programs, and one love to all sentient beings. It's Heckoon here, your old buddy from Runehammer. Welcome back, and we're live once again. You're hanging out with the lyrical master, the P-Funk Damager. What am I doing exactly? Yes. The map for Heckoon Carapace must be completed. I said I was going to get this damn thing done in July. There's a bunch of other cool stuff going on, which is always how life is. And I need to get this damn map done. It's like it's been haunting my dreams. I know that there's some spinning circular room things. And I know there's a blue goo, and that's sort of the main puzzle. But I don't really know what the hell I'm doing, and so there's a lot of terror creeping up my spine right now. So let's switch on over to... Okay, there we go. So here is the proto map, as I like to call it, that I did just as a sort of here's my idea in one of the first Heckoon streams, right? I was just saying, this is kind of what I'm thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do how all my sort of layout style art, or not layout, overlay style art. I'm getting ahead of myself. Just everybody just calm down. I just walked the Rune Hound, so he's back there going, and when he does that, it makes thinking difficult. Okay. So I always do layout stuff this way. You take your underlay piece of art, which may be a guide piece of art, it might be a photo, whatever you're sort of working on top of. Make that about 50% opacity. Throw a brand new layer on top, and that way you see how my working layer is like totally visible and my underlayer is sort of barely visible. So this gives me, you know, that sort of onion skin effect as far as using guide art to continue. So the main part of the carapace, if you guys watched some of the previous videos, is this sort of, it's this dungeon floor, okay? And then we've got an upper area, which is kind of like the top of this sort of crab shape. And we've got the lower area, which is kind of like the legs and the locomotion. Those are going to be a little less detailed because I think the majority of time is going to be spent in this main area. So we're going to put most of our mapping time into that same area, okay? So here we go. Let's do some mapping. You guys see me do mapping all the time. So you're probably pretty familiar with my methods by now. So I'm just stroking a circle there to get a nice consistent circle. And then I'm going to draw over it so that, you know, you don't want like the way computers draw. Computers draw badly. You want hand-drawn lovin'. So there we go. You know, and I was just like bored and like recapping some of my videos, watching some of my videos from the past last night. And like, I really underestimated the soothing, enjoyable quality of watching drawing happen in real time. So it's actually quite nice. Okay, so we got 3 big discs, and one of these, well, they're more like domes, and one of these domes, actually 2 of them, break the surface of the main sort of mass here. So let's start getting these main pieces drawn in. So if I were doing, you know, like an overworld map, these would be my mountains and my coastlines, right? Okay, so here we have these 3 things. Now each one of these has a doorway in it, like this, and for reasons I have yet to understand, these things sort of turn almost like eyeballs, and I think that these doorways maybe are the respiratory organ. So let's think of it that way. This this creature actually respirates by drawing in air through these openings, then turning them like eyeballs inward, and then the oxygenated air is sort of released out of a venting system. Okay, so just having that concept in mind, I think is going to give us a lot of the data we're looking for to get this map done and make it cool. All right, so now if you notice, I'm going to shrink my pen a little bit. You see that? Like, shrink the pen. So I've got these big bold lines done, but if I do the whole piece in big bold lines, it's not going to feel that refined. It's going to, see, look how it looks when I move in. It's like a lot of my art where it just looks like some kid took a Sharpie off a desk and went crazy on the refrigerator, right? We don't want that. We want this to look publishable goodness, right? That's the RPG Underground, is we want to make cool publishable stuff. So I'm going to clean these little doorways up a little bit with my eraser tool. I'm going to separate them from the edging. And they just have a little bit of a shadow on top. They have a little bit of a distortion to indicate perspective. I'm going to put a little opening here to make sure that it's clear to someone interpreting this map that this is an entrance. And then you can also kind of put these little suggestive lines like, you can't just go around the door and enter, you go through the door. And all these little things, you know, may not be required per se, but they do matter. Okay, now, let's think about the venting system next. So we're looking at, this circle is actually the top view of a dome, right? So we need to keep that in mind at all times because we kind of want to sell that idea. So here, I'm going to do these things. Now these would be like the ramparts on a castle, right? Don't answer that. Rhetorical question. All right, and then we're going to fill these in with shadow to drive it home that these are openings. And in a lot of ways, this is kind of like a really big version of the warp shell, right? The warp shell is sort of like some crustacean kind of properties, but also some sort of vessel-like properties. Okay, so there's this venting system, and then that's kind of, when I'm doing these maps, you know, I kind of am oscillating between drawing the exterior and the interior. It's just like any D&D map where you'll have hints of what the sort of overstructure may be with your art. But then also you're drawing a sort of an X-ray view that lets the map be delivered, right? And just playing with that and being loose, I think, is a good step. Okay, so now out here, before I get into like the sort of the interior sort of fun of the mapping, I'm going to add some little like crustacean-y spiky bits. And again, you know, is this essential to, you know, sort of quote unquote running the map, right, as the GM? No. But I do think it helps sell your ability to imagine what this weird thing is. Of all the things that I've published on Patreon, this is one of my weirder ones. So when you're doing sort of out there concepts, the burden is on you to be very diligent and put a lot of work into delivering the sort of unspoken elements of that concept. Because I'm not just saying, oh, it's a castle and then everybody can imagine it. No, this is a giant moving crustacean that is like plodding to the ocean, like slowly going to the ocean. So we're just going to do this map, and then afterwards I got to feed my turtle. Turtle needs food. Got a hungry turtle out there. Great. Okay, so save that progress. So now we're looking good. You see how much more sort of advanced this feels compared to that sketch underneath. So now let's get into sort of what this gameplay could be. So I would like to think that all of these, well, not like to think, but this is just how it is. These things rotate like big eyeballs. And does this one? Yeah, this one rotates though in a different way. I think this one rotates to a sort of secret room. So let's start with that. So there's an opening here. And then there's this room back here. And exactly what that is, I think we're going to get to in just a second. So just bear with me. This is just such a weird concept that I'm frankly quite concerned how well it's going to sort of sell. You know, if it's going to be believable. Okay, so there's this chamber back here. Okay, and so The only way to access this little chamber is when this circular room or chamber or space or organ, whatever you want to call it, rotates into position. Okay? And that rotation on all of these things is going to function as a timer. Like, I think too that I want a cool way to kind of denote that fact. So this big one rotates on a four rounds. This second one on a 3. And I think this one also on 3. No, let's do 2. Let's be symmetrical in our thinking. Okay. Well, I don't know if symmetrical is the word. Like elegant, musical. Okay. So from this vent area, so when these things are all aligned inward, like the inward alignment is going to be here, is going to be here, and is going to be here. The reason they do that is to vent off this processed air, right? And this processed air is not something you want to be breathing. So we do have our InDesign document where we get to notate and describe all these mechanics. But right now we're just thinking in terms of the map. So when the circle rotates back and matches up with these sort of doorway sockets, now we're following our kind of room plan again. We're going to go into this vent room, and it's going to join up to this wall right here. Now it starts to become very important, what negative and positive space are, and that's going to be, a step we do later. But you can already kind of feel that, right? So these are like these little alveolar walls, and we're going to go in and do the details on that. Because remember, we want to sell that this is an organism, not architecture. But it's just so dang big that it feels like architecture in its revelation and, most importantly, its gameplay. Okay, so again, dropping my pen size a little bit so that you get that feeling of refinement. And I'm going to do these little alveolar bumps. These are little like nodules that absorb the nutrients from the air or something to that effect. They help in respiration. We don't really know fully how this organism even lives or breathes or how or why it's evolved this way. But what we do know is that we're inside a big weird thing. That's what you really want to sell, kind of like in Aliens, right? It's just like, looks like some kind of secreted resin. Yeah, but secreted from what? Nobody touching nothing. It's hot as hell in here, Sarge. Yeah, man, but it's a dry heat. And so on. Draw a D&D map and feed your turtle. Draw a D&D map and feed your turtle. So we kicked it off at noon, so I'll see if I can get this all done in an hour. Because, I know that people are not fans of epically long YouTube streams. Even though last night I saw some of that Ghost Mountain mapping session I did that was so completely insane. 8 hours straight streaming. I don't even know if anybody even wound up using that map at their table. But just the artistic exercise of sitting down and do that in one go, that was insane. Okay, so see, it has these sort of breathing organs here. These little alveolar nodules. And when we get to the blue goo here in a minute, you're going to see why all of the anatomical stuff we realize here is sort of important. Okay. So there we are. You see how that pen size gives me that kind of more finished kind of look? And this is a little bit of a silly sort of dungeon design, what with all the round shapes and everything. So I am getting a little bit of like a almost sort of skull fungus kind of look. Huge fan of his art. Okay, there we go. So there's just this little kind of... And then you always want some little dots here and there to make it feel like there's a floor. Right? And then we're going to add some little veins and stuff here later, but we're not quite to that step yet. So 1, 2, 3. I bring my pen back up to a bolder look. See that? And we're going to go back to doing walls. I think we need some interesting barrier here, which is some kind of a sort of, I hate to use this word, but it's an orifice. Remember that crazy orifice in the Star Trek movie that Spock had to float through? That was nuts. Okay, so here we go. These are walls. I'm putting this orifice here because I want to set up a barrier that's going to make for a dramatic battle. To get through this barrier to this sort of third big chamber is going to be no easy thing. And so I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here. And then I'm going to take the cue off this little sort of stub line, and I'm going to... That's not going to work. I need to do like this sort of, this look. You know how do I do that? It's where all these sort of convergent lines like form like a twisting sort of orifice looking thing. How do I even draw that? I don't know what I'm doing right now. That's how you know it's real on Runehammer. It's like, I do not know how to do what I'm wanting to do here. I think it's like this. There we go. It's like those little concentric lines, right, that form like a weird orifice. And this will have a label on it, so we'll put some numbers on things so we can make notes on things and all that. Because my drawing is just not up to the task. So instead of being negative about it, being poopy, I'm just going to put a little note by this, and I'll help explain it to the reader. Oop, can't draw the alveoli with the large pen. That's against the rules. Okay, so on the other side of the orifice, and I'm going to give it like this sort of edge here so it has some more mass to it. Then we have these bigger chambers. There's a sort of an arbitrary squiggle right here, which is going to serve to sort of block line of sight. Like that. You see how line of sight is going to be limited that way. And then we're going to go back into this final room, which used to be represented by this circle here, but I'm going to do this kind of thing like this. And this is like, to me, this is the bridge. So I'm going to put another sort of orifice door. And they're almost like these weird kind of eyeball feeling doorways. Okay, now I'm just going to thicken my lines here a little bit by drawing over them. You know, I think I regrew my pen, but not quite to the point that I want it, so you just draw over your work again. And then I think up here, there's like viewports, and these are the eyes. So again, we need to sell that. So I'm going to kind of come in, go here, and we're going to do like these sort of ellipses, which help to show some of the perspective on the edge of the dome shape. But also keep reminding you that this is an organism, not architecture. Okay, then we've got the room is actually breached by these eyeballs, so that's how you see out, right? So just erasing little parts and pieces here and there. There we go. So now I'm just going to reinforce some of this work with some draw over, right? Just draw what you drew again and let your hand draw it slightly different so that you increase the line thickness. There we go. Okay, so now that's what I would consider sort of the bridge, right? So this is our dungeon. This is really all I need. Now it's a matter of selling where the spaces are. And by selling, I mean, you know, it's very easy to see on a glance so that you're not going, is that a tunnel or is that like solid mass? I can't even tell. Okay. Okay, now I can't have a line here because it kind of looks like it's blocked. So I think all these need openings like that. Okay. Little doodads and squiggly bits here to keep it looking organic. I hear something very, very strange. And I don't know what it is. There we go. Okay. Okay. Great, so that's really is the majority of the concept right there. So I need to sort of seal these off. And now I think what I need to do is get this sort of negative space filled in because it's starting to confuse my eye a little bit. You feeling that? I don't know if you guys can really sense that. So I'm going to go over here, add a layer underneath your artwork. I'm going to grab a nice sort of maybe 30% gray there. Get a nice big brush so I'm not coloring for the next 10 years. And then we're just going to start doing this. Now you could use a magic wand here. Actually, you know, that might be a trick worth showing. Is oops, I need to redo that. There we go. That could be a trick worth showing is grab your magic wand, get it on contiguous, which means continuous space, and then you can grab these little openings with your magic wand as long as you have them closed, which I don't. So go back to your art layer, close some of these things off. Oh God, this trick is like wearing thin on me quite quickly. Okay, that's all going to be gray. That's going to be gray. That, oop, got to close that off. There we go. Got to close this off. This off. And by closed, what I mean is, you know, like lines connect so they meet so that they don't leave the shape open, so to speak. Now that should do it. Now I get my wand. You want a pretty high tolerance, like call it 33. Contiguous masses, grabbing, 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 and grabbing. Go back to your underneath layer, expand your selection just by a little bit, like 2 pixels. Get your gray and fill. There you go. So the reason you expanded is it gets underneath the line art by 2 pixels, so you don't get this crunky little edge. A lot of people who try to use the magic wand tool forget that there's a teeny little space at the edging that it's not going to get. So now I've just got my marker. I'm going in with my gray and making sure that everything's filled in properly. Looks good. So you see how quickly using that technique I get where I want to go. So now I don't need my reference layer anymore. She's gone. She's gone. Okay, now I'm looking clean. And I feel this need, the need for speed. I'm going to go ahead and flatten. I just like to work on a single layer. For some people, it induces, you know, massive attacks of paranoia. But for me, I like it. I'm going to imply some of these legs out here because I feel like it needs to be done. Remember, constantly reminding the viewer that this is a creature. We can even kind of, pen's a little too big. There we go. We can even kind of imply that there's some crazy like claw things going on here. Okay, now a little bit of contour lines, just these little lines and dots that I do. It kind of implies that this isn't smooth. Okay. But I need those to be darker than everything else so that they look like they're distant. So let's do the same trick we just did. Grab with your wand. Oops, make sure you get those empty spaces, not the black line art, which I keep doing. Ugh, okay, I'll do that with my marker. Boom, 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 boom. Grabbing all the legs. There we go. Same trick. Select, modify, expand, 2 pixels. Go underneath your art. Grab your gray, but now we want a darker one. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to go down there. Fill, and you're good to go. See, the selection expansion gives you this really clean underfill. It's because it gets underneath the line art, and that's key to the technique. Now I go back in with my my pen, and I do these toes because they were kind of small to pick with my wand. I mean, you want to talk about getting specific on Photoshop technique. I can't get any more specific than that stuff. Okay, great. So here we go. Save that. We're chilling. Now we need interior detail. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to get my black. I'm going to shrink my pen. There we go. Small pen makes it feel like I know what I'm doing here. Going to add some stuff here in the gray zone just to break up that infinite gray expanse that's so boring looking. Maybe there's some implied detail on the outer part of the shell, like these spots here. Again, kind of playing with the difference between X-ray and seeing the actual outside of the creature. It's a map, you know, you're kind of free to just sort of be crazy like that. Okay, there we go. Some happy little squiggles here. They're just living their own life, you know. They're just being little squiggles. They're just, you know, it's your world. Make some decisions. There you go. There you go. Dots never hurt. To sell that a surface is there, kind of lets the eye continually find new little details to discover, keeps the eye moving. Areas with not enough detail, the eye will tend to rest, and you can often like lose interest. Okay, great. A little bit bigger pen, some dots on the legs. Okay, good. I'm feeling good. This feels like a creature. The orifices feel weird. Everything is working out. Okay, so here I am. I'm a little bit big on the pen. There we go, a little smaller pen. Now I need to ask myself, do I know what the hell I'm doing? And the answer is always going to be no. So I'm up here in the sort of the bridge area. And first of all, I want to make sure that I sell the concept that these are kind of like eyes or windows. And so I'm going to use a yellow because blue is off limits for reasons you're about to find out. Now, yellow will not be used anywhere else on this design, and so it kind of implies an anomalous material, right? And that material is like this, you know, like the lens on an eye. It's this sort of wet, transparent, organic, glass-like material. Okay, again, that's on a layer underneath so that I paint underneath my line art, and then I'm just going to merge them again because I'm crazy that way. Okay, now we're going to go back to black. Back to black. Okay, now I'm going to do these little things, and I just want you to bear with me. Boop, here's a thing. Boop, here's a thing. The biggest one is here. Boop, 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 boop. Look at the size of that sucker. What are these things, Hanker and Farnell? We're about to find out. What are those things? Oh, Ingrid Bernal. I heard you some kind of lizard. My mama says you live up in them hills. That you's got some kind of powers. Only power that lizard's got to take you straight to hell. Woo! Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, buckle my knee, and then we've got the fourth one is right here. Shut the door. Now, I'm not even going to go in an underneath layer. I'm going to go right on top of this sucker. And look at this. Pow! Blue. Boom. 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 And then dinkle boom. Okay? Then on top of my dinkle boom, I'm going to get down here. I'm going to get this more like daiquiri ice type color. The Baskin-Robbins flavor. And I'm going to do the interiors of these with just a couple little hits. See that? Then I'm going to take white and put a little dot on each one. And this sort of makes it feel like these are some kind of tanks or something, which is what I want. Okay. The blue goo. Now I'm going to go back to black. Back to black. I'm going to zoom in. Getting a little bit excited. Getting a little bit weird. People say I'm strange. I'm okay with that. Okay, now there's these veins that come off these things. And you should be feeling a little bit like how the players are going to feel when they confront this right now. I.e., you should be wondering what these veins are and what these blue things are. If I have you wondering that, then my dungeon design is working. I should have your curiosity piqued. And we will find out soon enough. All right. Probably all the color I'm going to do because I don't want to imply too much color, but I'll probably use red for my notations. Now we just need to get our dungeon decorated, so to speak. So I think here there's this sort of organic bridge feel, right? And it's got these kind of weird little thingies, and maybe there's some little levers. There's a big lever here that you can pull to, I don't know, make it turn. Okay, then here you have some sort of screen type implications. Little vents to keep things cool. Couple little veins. The veins are key because they're the sort of core mystery of what's going on in here. Maybe it has little sort of areas that are implied, like where you should stand while you interface. Stand here. Stand here. Please mind the gap. Please mind the gap. The doors are closing. That's not an annoying voice at all. Okay. So there's our sort of quote-unquote bridge. I'm not sure why I said quote-unquote. Okay, then here's this corridor. And you're going to get a little bit of an alien feel with just some nice little curved ridges. The curved ridges are kind of more effective even than I thought, so I'm just going to kind of bring those around in other places. Oh, Giger. Oh, Giger, we will be feeding on your creative genius for decades to come, I guarantee it. If not centuries. Man is a true visionary and paid a terrible price for his visionary artwork. He was tormented by those horrifying visions. And the rest of us all get to benefit from it. Okay, here we go. Great! We are going places, guys. This is looking pretty cool. Okay, so now, if I do say so, I mean, I'm the artist. Jesus, really, can I get any more into myself? Good Lord. Okay. So right away, you should be feeling, well, this door isn't lined up. There's nowhere to go here. Yeah, we need those things to line up. And we have, this takes 4 rounds to rotate. This one takes 3 rounds. This one takes 2 rounds. Why do you want to be in these spheres? Well, we've got 4 nodules. I'm going to add 2 more nodules because I think we need to be somewhat heavy-handed with this. Actually, you know what? That's not true. I'm only going to put 1 here. The 3rd big chamber, I'm going to sort of make a bit of optional content. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so just grabbing my blue colors. First the blue, then daiquiri ice, then white. There you go. Okay. The symbiotes and Spectre, the supreme bad guy in this adventure, communicate with the carapace via this blue substance. If the players can cut off the flow of blue substance, boats become confused, they won't know where players are, and Spectre can no longer control this being. So is that going to sort of win the day? I'm not sure, but I know that players are going to want that, either to change the course of this creature, maybe as it's walking toward a city, or to set it free from Spectre's sort of arcane control. But I think really to succeed at being inside this thing, they're going to need to understand, use, cut off, or otherwise alter the flow of this blue liquid through this creature. And so we've got 5 points in our dungeon that must be visited for that objective. Now, who knows what's going to happen because it's D&D, right? But I can lure them. Well, excuse me. YouTube waits for no sneeze. Okay, but this chamber down here, you can't see my finger. This chamber down here is different. It contains, like maybe they find out, I don't know, I'm just sort of realizing this as I'm doing it. But maybe they find out that the Heckoon actually is a sort of a friend of mortals. And they're confirmed on this by finding a room full of like these sort of crustacean armor suits or space suits almost is how they could be considered. So let's shrink our pen down. There's my nice smaller pen. Yep, looks right. And then I'm going to draw, actually I'm going to just do 1 of these and then clone it so I don't have to draw a million of these. But look at this. Here's a little helmet. Little shoulders. Little arms. And we are seeing this from above, so then here's the little feet. See that? It's like a little crustacean suit. So instead of, making it another chamber where they need to work with the blue goo, this chamber is just here to give them super cool bonus treasure. I didn't like this sort of human-looking opening. There we go. That's dope. Okay, it's more like a respiratory vent on a grasshopper is what the helmet looks like. Okay, so then I take this, And it's a little big. So I'm going to bring him down a little bit. Now I'm just using Photoshop magic and I'm just being silly. Okay, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to start cloning. Because I want them to all look the same, but I don't want to attempt to draw a bunch of identical things. Look at these little guys. How cool are these little guys? I mean, you come into here, this is what I would like to call a wondrous revelation in this adventure. Like, the Heckoon carapace actually does work with humans. And so the Heckoon Dawn, which is this cult that worships it and refuses to let anyone like see the creature and live to tell about it, I don't even think they know this. They don't know that the carapace is the friend of mortals. I mean, aren't all cults always misguided, right? Okay, so now I take my pen and I'm going to add some little back pieces on these guys. And then there's sort of they've got little umbilicus that goes to this little mounting jelly bean shape thing. They each have their own little umbilicus. These need some shapes on the back to give them a little more presence. Little lines here. And then maybe actually there's a raised area. So we're going to go like toink, toink, toink. Got to watch out for those straight lines. There we go. And then this is like stairs. So I'm going to go. You see, so those are like stairs. Now, one way I can help to imply stairs is to add some little lines like these. They can sell that sort of elevation a little bit. And then help mate these lines together where the tangents meet. And get a little bit of noise in here. Maybe a little heavier line here and there. You know, and that's sort of where my skill to teach reaches its limit, is like, if you were to ask me how I'm deciding where to sort of emphasize line weight and where to just leave it be, I'm just not sure. It's just the eye, you know, it's just the artist's eye. I don't quite have the education to explain what makes me think that. Okay, so now each one has like a little activator button here that you like press with your foot. You know, part of this is sort of inspired by when Alita finds that dope cyber body in the ship under the water. Oh man, that was so cool. If you guys haven't seen Alita, oh my gosh, you got to watch that movie. So great. A truly wonderful example of like modern anime. Just awesome. Okay, so let's quit fanboying on Alita and get this work done. Okay, so that chamber feels done. So I can put some enemies in this room. I can have players walk in. I can give a good description. There's a wonderful treasure to be found. And don't forget, there's a doorway back here. How are they going to notice that doorway? Well, I'm not sure. Unless they're just in this room long enough to see this door past this opening. That's what they'll do. Okay. So let me make sure that this looks like you can walk through it. There we go. It's really easy to accidentally have a line look like you can't pass through. Okay. So we got that one. We're down to, got 20 minutes left, and I need to get these 2 rooms done, and I'm finished. And then all I need to do is like add my red numbers, and I'll be ready to do my notation, which we might not have time for on this particular stream. Because I got to go feed that turtle, y'all. You know, don't play. I think, too, that these jelly beans, they need to be gray. They are, you know, what you might call blocking or occluding geometry, right? So I need to fill these in. They reach the ceiling. I guess that's one thing that the gray you could think of as implying, is that gray reaches the ceiling. So it's a truly blocking, because there might be a battle in this room that's so fierce they might want to hide behind these and stuff like that. Okay. There we go. Depends how many symbiotes you want to hurl at them, or if Spectre confronts them in that room. You know, anything can happen. You know how D&D is. This stuff's crazy. Okay, so we're down here. Doo-doo. Got the smaller pen. Too small. Bop. Shibbity beep. Okay, there we go. What's this one? What's this room? Well, I really like that idea that just popped up. Completely accidental, but the idea of this sort of pillar-filled room. So let's do one of those. And I think this is the primary breathing organ. So it's got these 4 big pillars, maybe 5 because one of them's small and weird, so it doesn't feel too much like architecture right there. Okay, we need to underfill these buggers first. Remember, we put a layer underneath our artwork so that your color goes under your art, your line art, so that it looks perfectly seamless. Once you get that technique, you're going to be loving life. Another way to do it is to make your color in layer multiply, and that way it will it won't overwrite black, but you can go over the edges and stuff. But that's a different technique. Okay, anyway, there we go. Boop. Too big a pen. Little shrink. Okay, we're gonna do, and sometimes. There we go. Sometimes pillars can be sort of sold or be more convincing if you do these little lines around them. It's like the sort of the bulgy base. Bulgy base. Womp womp bulgy base. Womp womp bulgy base. Bulgy base. So here we have one of the blue things, which is probably the sort of primary target. You also have access to the outdoors. Hairs. And then you have, what other goal, what other objective do you have in here besides the blue thing? Probably mainly survival and the blue thing, but we're going to put some alveolar nodules in here to reinforce this breathing concept. We're going to sell that concept to the players. This thing breathes with these huge bulbs. Some dots for the floor. Remember, you don't have to get crazy. Not every room has to be your superstar. And I'm done. Finally, we have this room over here, which has a large goo controller, a large goo tank. But I think for the sake of like changing rhythm, this one has is divided. And it's divided like this. And this is a doorway. There's like a membrane here of some kind, and that's going to serve as an alarm. So the players can't get to this. They can see through this, but so we might want to revisit the yellow actually. Grab the yellow, going right on top here and just going over my edges on my black so that I get the seamless look. There we go. So it's that same see-through material that's up front, and then this this goo module is in a sort of closed chamber. Now why? Why do I want to do this? A lot of times when you come into a room, seeing a wall and a door is a great start rather than just getting it all exposed immediately. And then we're going to just have a battle right here. And what's along the wall? This thing needs to eat. So I imagine sometimes it takes nutrients in through this room, and then it has these like cilia. And these cilia right here are going to grab at players as they play. I mean, just drawing creepy little wiggly things like this kind of implies like they might grab at you. So these cilia, when air is drawn into the carapace, they grab birds, particles of plants, seeds, other things, you know, leaves that might be drifting in the air. And it helps to nourish the creature. And it keeps reinforcing that this is a creature. And look at this. I think we got our map. I think I'm feeling pretty happy. Okay, and then you might want to do it on another layer to feel sort of safe and maybe where you can move things. So I'll get a red that's not primary. Primary red can really vibrate on paper and make your eye hurt. So you'll see what I did. I kind of get a red that's like right there. Primary red just vibrates like mad. Okay, so we're going to get a smaller pen, and now we're going to label things. So we got 1. That's the bridge. But almost the bridge is more like the end of the adventure, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I think the most likely entrance is this room, actually. It's one of these. But either way, I think I'm going to start here at the exhaust. 1. I'm going to go 2, which is the junction. I'm going to go 3. Nope. I'm going to go 3. I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go 5. 6 for this hallway. That's too big. 6. I'm going to go 7 here. Nope. I'm going to go 7 here. Then I'm going to go 8 here. And that should give me, oh, I've got my secret room, 9. So actually this is 8 down here. And I'm going to put it outside because I don't want to draw on my cool map. And then this is now 9. That's a G. 9. There we go. Cool. So you see, there we have it. There we have the interior of the map. And I've got 15 minutes to spare because I'm the cool guy. Hell yeah, man. Okay, so I want to show you now, because remember, it's every step of the way, even like how I come in late. That's part of what I wanted to show with this whole process. Like, I had all of July to do this. It's technically probably 4 days of work, but because I'm doing other things and because I'm a bum, I'm coming in toward the end of the month here. Okay, so I go to my InDesign file. And remember how we've been doing all this crazy stuff? This time we're going to keep it a little cleaner. I'm going to add a text block, and it's going to be a spanning text block, or a single column as I like to call it. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all this junk. Do not need. I'm going to shrink it down. Oops, it goes all the way to the top there. I don't want all this dead space. That's no fun. That's going to make selecting things later a real PITA. Okay, now I'm going to bring this sucker down. And this is where we're going to put our notes. Right there. I need 9 entries, right? We just did that. So we go 1, 2. This is how I do stuff. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Why do I do the numbers before I'm writing anything in there? Because it just gives me a sense of what I need to fill in, what I need to get done. And then I just do it. Okay, so 1. The exhaust. Okay, so this is the trachea. Trachea exhaust. 2. So I'm just putting in the names first. This is the junction. 3. Remember, these are both spaces as well as events in the adventure. 3 is, it's sort of the lung chamber. 4. 4 is the feeding chamber, or the cilia chamber. Cilia room. 5. That is the goo module. 6. This is the guarded hallway, or the guarded spinal corridor. So that's like where its sort of spinal cord is. So there's a lot of symbiotes there to keep outside organisms from interfering. 7. Ooh, this is the pilot's chamber. 8. 8 is the secret room. Hidden goo room. I need spiritual guidance. I must find a goo room. I know that doing accents of people from nationalities is generally insensitive and insulting, but in this case, I'm going to have to say, I need a goo room. I need a goo room. Okay. Number 9. This is we don't want to call it the bridge. We're going to call it the nerve center. Okay, so now what I need is to just get some brief descriptions and brief mechanical pieces. And if I do my job well, I'll fit them on 1 line each so that this is ultra tight. And then just like Dave prefers, I'll add these little line accents here. So let's just grab them right away. 1. There, just grab 1. Okay, here we go. Boop. And then go poop. And then there we go. Get that on there. Sure. Is there a more efficient way to do this? Absolutely. And I don't know it, and I don't care. Okay, there we go. Hey, cool, man. Looks real cool. All right, now make sure those are behind your text so they don't wash out your text color. Beep. There we go. Tap. No, please. Whew. I was like, the beach ball, no! If you see the beach ball, the fun is over, the thing's going to crash. Okay, great. So we're going to put our map right in the middle here, and I'm just going to do it right now. Check me out. Check me out. I'm going to flatten down my numbers, copy. No, I don't even need to copy that. I'm just going to get rid of my background, just like that. Whoop, save. Heck main map. I do PNG type stuff. I'm going to do it in my ICRPG folder. All very exciting items. Go back to InDesign. And then you're going to go to your browser here. You're going to go here. You're going to go here. You're going to go heck main map. You guys are really seeing some exciting views into my browsing structure. Okay. Up there. That should shrink it down just almost enough. Here we go. Oh, and okay, so now we're going to have the other two maps real small here on the left side, which are going to be the sort of upper part of the dome, and then the legs down the bottom where maybe players are going to get tangled up. Do I even need those though? I'm starting to think no, because this map is so cool on its own. So I'm just going to make it big. And you know, this is like the true essence of not having any idea what you're going to do or what you're going to do next. Is you just go with it. Now, I do not like that this is one line longer than it should be. Spectre and the symbiotic creatures aboard the carapace communicate with it via glowing blue ooze that runs in tubes throughout the creature. That's redundant. That runs in tubes. Period. That buys me the line, and now I've got that nice space there. You want that little gutter between the map and the text. Things get too close. It's not cool, bro. Not cool. Okay, like that. There we go. Good. Patchouli. Okay, I got 8 minutes left. We're talking about patchouli right now. So let's see if we can lock down these descriptoids in the time remaining. Confront thy fears. Trachea exhaust. Area where gusts of breathed wind rush out. Make sure my font size is correct, because every word counts in these tight line descriptions. Strength roll to resist gusts every timer. So that language basically means you can keep a timer going, and every time that timer runs out, this huge gust of processed air is going to rush out of this thing, and it's going to take a strength roll not to slide out of these vents. Now, I might want to add some red arrows later to show some of the movement around in this, maybe some red arrows on the spinning and stuff like that. But for the moment, we're just trying to write these damn things. The junction, heavily guarded with symbiotes. Openings align with dome chambers every timer. Okay. Lung chamber. Huge, fleshy. I don't like fleshy. That's weird. Huge crustaceous pillars absorb fresh air. Room rotates to align with door every 4 rounds. Woo! Almost didn't make that one. Cilia room. Okay. Digestive tendrils grab at debris and foreign matter. Hard strength to escape. And translucent door ahead. Oh! Okay. Goo module. A large tank of blue mind goo in a protected and tended by a high-powered symbiote. Okay? All these will probably have some kind of likelihood to encounter Spectre, too. Guarded spinal corridor. Okay. So, ridged spinal tunnel packed with symbiote guards. Door to nerve center locked. How do we undo that? I don't know. We'll figure that out later. The pilot's chamber. Okay. Revelation that the carapace hosts human pilots. Room contains 6 carapace vac suits. Cool. Hidden goo room. Okay, aligns with I have to do capitals. Pilot's chamber every 2 rounds. Contains largest mind goo tank. Okay. Nerve center. Okay. Translucent eye windows and monitoring organs for carapace functions. Okay, now I might improve these. I might add detail. I might mention them later and return to them. I might do all kinds of things to reinforce these concepts, to really sell them, to make the reader feel what I'm feeling so that we get on the same page as far as running this adventure. But that gets it. It's just getting those initial descriptions out is a huge step because you kind of overcome this sort of fear and hesitation, which for me is always, hesitation is it's much bigger than fear. Like, hesitating can cost you weeks of time sometimes. Okay, whew, so did it. Freaking did it. I don't know how that big orifice door works yet. I'm going to have to describe that. I still need to do the monster entries, so we're going to have these guys down here. And then I've got a conclusion, and I will be done. This is crazy. This is a whole adventure at this point. We're going to go back into crazy space. Whoa. Wow. Hey, 76 of you tuning in here on Runehammer. I'm Ingrid Bernal, your host here on Runehammer, where I dream of a robust, prolific RPG underground who is making as much material, publishing as much material as they are consuming or purchasing. That's the dream that we're working on today. That's the dream. Is it a reality? I don't know. But we're going to be pretty cool. Oh, man, I misspelled carapace. Oh, well, let's just throw this train off the rails. Actually, that's a great way to end the video. I don't care if I make spelling errors. I do not care. This kind of thinking can often derail the fun of the creative process, is making spelling errors and being like, oh, ouch. My advice is completely let it go. Don't even think about it. Just finger paint. Only when you are finally completely done, give a rip about any spelling errors. I've actually noticed that it's a fun hobby of some readers and viewers, is that there'll be this entire edifice of work and they'll go very far out of their way to be like, hey, you misspelled one word in your 120-page book. So thank you, Donald, for pointing that out, but I currently do not care. And as soon as I'm done with the whole document, then I'll start to care about spelling. Casey's Law did the same thing last week. That's what proofreading later is for. That's what spell check is for. Oh, yeah, cool. Tablets. Tablets are great. Man, hell yeah. I use a Bamboo and a Cintiq. Yes, VFX for mobile games. That is soul-sucking. Yes, that is very soul-sucking. That is a very different topic, though. We are not going to go there. It is now 1 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'm Ingrid Bernal. Namaste, Nastame. One love to all sentient beings. And I'll see you guys on the internet. I'm going to get out of here. Keep your eyes on the sky and you got to get up and try. And even if we're down and all gonna die, you gotta get up and try. You gotta get up, try.